Welcome back to Friends Are Weird, your place for weird news and even weirder friends. I'm Joey
And I'm Stone.
Stone. I am looking forward to this week. Before we get started, though, I just want to let everybody know we may have a couple of surprise guests. I am hanging and rolling solo with my 6-month-old twins. So if you hear them chatting, don't worry. This isn't free child labor. I'm not violating any U.S. federal laws. I promise.
Yeah. Now you said that they're your twins, but they're only 6 months old. Are these clones or something you're talking about, or what do you mean by that?
Kind of. Have you ever heard of test tube babies?
I have.
Mm.
Aren't those illegal in Alabama now?
Yes, which is why I did it.
Okay.
Cause fuck Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well,
cool.
hey, yeah, we got a great show for you today, Stone. I'm super excited. I'm going to talk to you all a little about the upcoming apocalypse of bugs.
Cool. Cool. I've got the sequel literally nobody is asking for is finally coming. The Titanic 2 is scheduled to set sail in 3 years. And the best part is, it's not even woke.
It sounds sketchy. Speaking of woke, let's talk a little bit about porch pirates.
Cool. And Amazon has a new exciting type of AI that's so good even doctors wouldn't be able to distinguish it from real humans.
Ooh, that sounds wonderful. So good, so great. The best president of all, Donald Trump, has compared himself to another famous figure.
And lastly, but not leastly, on my end, what does the solar eclipse tomorrow have to do with the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore? Well, nothing at all in reality, but in the pretend dimension where right wingers live, I'm positive their conspiracies are both part of a shared liberal Satan worshipping agenda, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Also, do us a favor and leave us a comment on what you think is the weirdest story we share this week. Whoever gets the weirdest story gets to make their other friend do something super shameful and super embarrassing on our next episode. So be on the lookout for that. Hey, Stone, you said you had some housekeeping things you wanted to clear up.
Yeah, before we get started on this week's stories, I'd like to issue another apology and correction from our last episode. Uh, you were covering a story that took place in Taiwan,
Mm.
and I would like to personally apologize for all the weird friends to President Xi Jinping for acting like Taiwan exists. Please, Xi, we know that you listen and you're a big fan. Please forgive us our indiscretion and kindly refer to John Cena's apology for making the same mistake a few years ago. He basically said all the things that we'd like to say in ours, but he said it in much better Mandarin than I could probably come up with. So we're sorry. We all know Taiwan isn't real.
So, wait, so you're apologizing for us? What are you apologizing for?
For referring to Taiwan,
Oh, it's
China gets
Thailand?
really mad when you. No, the story actually took place in Taiwan. I called it Thailand until
Oh,
you corrected me.
I thought that's what you were apologizing for. But I see. You're
Oh,
making
oh.
sure. I see. I
And
see.
making sure that the president of China knows that we acknowledge that Taiwan just doesn't exist. It's not
Hmm.
a real place. And that's a firmly held belief by us weird friends, and we'll never make that mistake again until we get another story out of Taiwan.
Well, smart
And
thinking.
also, sorry to the people of Thailand for confusing you for a place that doesn't exist. We know that Thailand exists, but not Taiwan.
That's the beautiful thing about weird friends is we're never intentionally offensive. We're just kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Well, hey,
So
as we
you,
get. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just about to get started into the episode, but finish your thought, please. I'm
No,
sorry
no,
for interrupting
please,
you.
please. I was about to get started into the episode, but I want you to start this episode.
Okay, so the only thing that's funnier to me than that submarine that imploded on itself last year has got to be the fact that it's being topped by an even more delusional billionaire. who's trying to recreate the original ship with its same maiden voyage, route, and type of clientele. This thing has been in the works for several decades now, but the pieces are all finally starting to come together. There's this billionaire named Clive Palmer who's currently fabricating an exact, faithful recreation of the famed doomed cruise liner. And I know what we're probably thinking. That's a very stupid idea that makes no sense because that ship actually kind of really sucked by today's standard for cruises. And unless you're a huge dork like Jerry from Rick and Morty, there's nothing really to do on a 7-day voyage across the Atlantic with no TVs, water slides, or nightclubs, or any of the modern day amenities that like most cruises have. And you'd probably be right. But Mr. Palmer wants you to know, as a potential guest aboard his ship, that it's not only boring and stupid, but it's also anti-woke. He has promised that the Titanic 2 will not be woke at all. And I assume that he means that if you, Joey, take a ride on this, because you look Irish, you're going to be stuffed into a tiny windowless cabin right next to the coal-powered engines below decks. So I wanted to get your thoughts about that as a Irish-coded looking guy.
Yeah, as an Irish, non-Irish, kind of Irish man myself. First off, was the first Titanic woke? What was woke about the original Titanic?
I don't know. Maybe they let the third class passengers up on the top deck from time to time. I really don't know because I've been trying to puzzle this out all week to myself. I do know that on his version of the Titanic, because he wants it to be as faithful a recreation as possible, you're probably going to be eating slop from a trough down with all the other pours. But you may be allowed to drink whiskey pirate style, like straight from the bottle, and dance a fun little jig on the table.
Huh. Interesting. And so I guess where I feel confident in this is at least cruise lining ship technology is a lot more effective and a lot safer than submarine technology. Like there's no chance of this ship imploding. And I mean, yeah, like radar technology, right? So they're not going to run into an iceberg.
And that's the best part, you know. In modern times, I think it happened because of the Titanic. By international law, international cruise that goes between countries, they're all now required to have lifeboat space for every single passenger on board. But because Clive Palmer wants to faithfully recreate the Titanic and he's not infected by the woke mind virus, when this thing sinks, and it will, like, not if it sinks, when it sinks because it hit an iceberg, you will be locked behind bars that prevent you from actually accessing these lifeboats. So, all we know is it's a faithful recreation and it's anti-woke and you will die and it will sink because it's the Titanic. Of course it will.
To help spite the woke liberal agenda, you will be able to access the lifeboats, but men and the affluent go first, and women and children have to wait until all the men and the rich folk are off first.
Yeah, maybe that's what he meant by, like, hinting that the first Titanic was woke because they let all the women and children first. Mm-hmm. Oh, and they made the band play until they just drowned. Like, after the part of the deck that they were standing on hit the water, they just kept playing until they just froze to death in the water.
Into the water. So that'll still happen because the band, of course, and this is not a reflection of Weird Friends and our thought process. This is just fact. You know that band is going to be composed of illegal immigrants. It's going to be a mariachi band.
Oh, you see, I thought they would get like an anti-woke ban for that, like the remaining members of Smash Mouth or something.
It's it's gonna be trapped playing to 9 people going, back off, I'll take you on.
Man, if they only sing that up the iceberg before it crashed into the ship.
Wowzers. Well, I'm looking forward to the update on this one. When does the maiden voyage, when do they set sail?
In 2027. And I'm not sure what month, but sometime in 2027, this thing. Yeah, construction is already underway.
Okay.
So get your ticket now. Time is limited because it's only going to sail once and it's probably going to sell out fast.
Well, and also time is limited because, spoiler alert, as you're going to share with us a little bit later, the world's probably going to end here pretty soon. Am I right?
Yeah, it's supposed to end tomorrow as of this recording, but hopefully it doesn't so we could get the episode out. We'll just have to see about that.
We'll just have to play it by ear. Well, Stone, thanks so much for sharing. I uh,
Of
I was
course.
I was reading about this next story, and I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2015 or 16. We were sitting, I think, at a Sonic. We were somewhere at some random out like in Albuquerque at like a random Sonic or some fast food place. And at the time, there was a mass cicada infestation. Do you remember that?
I don't remember cicadas. I remember the grasshopper year.
Or were they
I
were they
don't think we got
grasshoppers?
cicadas. Yeah, we definitely had like a biblical plague of
Mm.
grasshoppers. I don't think we have cicadas here in New
Well,
Mexico. I could be wrong.
I was thinking about it, and I just remember we were sitting there having food, maybe enjoying some recreational activities that are now legal in the state of New Mexico, maybe enjoying them a little bit too much and not being quite in the right mind when all of a sudden one of these bugs flew into the car and scared the hell out of both of us, yeah?
Oh yeah, it jumped from your feet to my chest, and I think I swatted it into your ear, and you flung it like we were basically playing tennis with this poor fucker, back and forth, and just screaming our goddamn heads off. I do remember this. It's pretty awful.
And you said it was a biblical proportion in terms of the plague of which these insects had infested us. What if I told you we're about to experience something even worse? And many areas of the United States are anticipated to see trillions, if not quadrillions, of these evolutionary bizarro weirdos, these red eye periodical cicadas that come out only every 17 years. What would you say if I told you that's gonna happen?
I'd say that doesn't even sound like that many cicadas.
a,
Quadrillions?
a
I eat
quadrillion?
that shit for breakfast.
Well, get ready for a cicada get in. Like I said, as trillions of these little bastards are about to be booming. So every 13 to 17 years, two specific subsets of cicadas branch out. It just so happens that for whatever reason this year, because the world is ending, we're not only getting one subset of cicada, we're getting the red eyed cicada, we're also getting the 13-year periodical cicadas, which are black eyed cicadas, and they're going to be mostly concentrated in the southeast and Illinois area. Many experts are anticipating at least 1 million cicadas per 1 acre of
Jesus
coverage
Christ.
across hundreds and hundreds of acres. These bugs, nature's kings of the calendar, will cover everything from trees to houses with their shedded exoskeletons, creating a crunchy landscape of just pure nastiness. Reminiscent of a horror movie set, it probably will look a lot like that Poo, Blood, and Honey set, just with dead, nasty, crunchy bodies all over. Now, while they may annoy with their deafening courses and munch on young trees and crops, these cicadas are basically harmless. And if you think about it, they're kind of the party animals of the insect world. What other insects come out every 13 to 17 years just purely to fuck? That sounds a lot like my sex life now that I have kids.
Yeah, well, that sounds really exciting. I think since, I don't know, in a couple decades or so, we're going to have to like just end beef production entirely and hamburgers are going to be a thing of the past, now would be a really, really, really great time for, I don't know, like say Tyson Foods to just scoop up as many of these fuckers as they can and
Hmm.
start turning it into bug protein and just slowly introducing it into the market. Because,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a once in 17-year event. Like, that's really fucking exciting.
And
I'm so glad that we don't live anywhere like that,
hmm
especially since I work outside for a living.
hmm
That sounds absolutely miserable, and my heart goes out to those in Illinois. But hell, maybe you'll be able to. Maybe you guys will be the first to adopt the new bug protein burgers that are just bound to become a reality soon.
So
I'm kind of jealous in that regard. I I pity you for having to deal with that many bugs. That sounds so miserable.
yeah, and I actually want to make a correction. So I slightly misspoke. The numbers that will actually come out this year average around 1 million per acre over hundreds of millions of acres across 16 states. Experts are anticipating, like I said, maybe hundreds of trillions, potentially even quadrillions. And on top of it, if you've ever heard a cicada, they're pretty noisy. Imagine trillions of them all isolated into one area. People are saying that you may actually need to wear ear protection if you're around them because it's going to be louder than Boeing's failed jet engines, reaching at least 110 decibels in a given area. That's that's a little
God,
bit more than just a nuisance.
that sounds so miserable. When those hundreds of billions of fucking just gnats, that's annoying enough, like walking through
Hmm.
a cloud of gnats and they start crawling across your eyeballs and going right in your ear.
Yeah,
That
just like
that
that.
sounds so miserable. Having like, cause what are they? They're like beetle size, right? The about like
Yeah,
that fucking big.
yeah, they're not small.
Yeah. Wow. I really hated that grasshopper plague that we had. Uh, Cicada plague sounds far worse. Uh, just noisy little fuckers. I can't wait to see the TikToks of people recreating that scene from Starship Troopers, like stomping on the ground, and I'm doing my part. Oh, is that Max? Is he a little
Hmm.
sneezy boy?
That's our little guest star Max sneezing over there, reading his book about giraffes and alligators.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Well, those are two animals that are a good thing to learn about.
those are
Good
two
for you,
animals.
Max.
You're correct.
Can't believe he's already reading.
I know.
That's so amazing.
At 6 months old. It's crazy. Can read full sentences better than I can read the teleprompter that I was just looking at.
Hell yeah. Well, damn. Yeah, that sounds pretty miserable. You got anything else to say on the topic of biblical plagues?
Not for this episode.
Okay. Well, Joey, are you familiar with the hot new technology called AI?
Yeah, it's that model Ashley Ingleson.
You're close. You're
Oh.
close. Um, you know, the AI of yesteryear, up
Mm.
until like just recently, stood for artificial intelligence. But AI or Amazon has just come out with a completely revolutionary new type of AI that stands for actually Indians. You see,
What?
yeah, Amazon Amazon Go is a revolutionary new type of grocery store with 22 locations across the United States that started opening in major cities in 2018 with the promise of no lines and no human interaction whatsoever and no checkouts. Uh, the way they made this work was by having thousands of little cameras all over the store that would record you as you shop, and they would do all the loss prevention normally performed by humans. When you enter the store, you check in at the front with your Amazon account, which of course is linked to your e-payment method of choice. and everything is automatically charged to you. If you grab a carton of eggs, you're charged automatically for eggs. Using Amazon's facial recognition software, and that's kind of how it keeps track of all the shoppers throughout the store. Well, it turns out the entire thing was a scam. The facial recognition software just isn't where it needs to be to make such a thing work. And instead, they had a building in India full of thousands of workers who were performing all the tasks that would normally be given to local people to run a grocery store. And if you ever visited one of these stores, you're basically being tracked by an Amazon employee, making much less than it's legal to pay an American who's checking you out and doing all the tasks that a normal store employee would do. Instead of the futuristic robot that they promised you it was. And I don't know if you've seen. Did you ever watch that movie 43, Joey?
No, I haven't.
It's a really dumb movie that's just sketch comedy, and they've kind of scammed a bunch of celebrities to star in it.
Yeah, I do know that one.
Okay, yeah, there's a pretty funny sketch in that movie that this kind of reminds me of, where it shows these people getting furious at the machines they have to interact with on a daily basis, like copiers and ATMs, and they're smacking the shit out of like these machines and cursing at them, and it zooms in on a small child inside the ATM who's crying and shoving money through the slot. Well, like a Sarah McLachlan song plays in the background.
Yeah.
In the arms of an angel, away. And the message pops up on the screen that says, "Don't be mean to your machines. They're full of children who are trying their best." And it's basically that, except instead of inside the machines, it's a grown-ass Indian man making far less than legal minimum wage, thousands of miles away, just basically doing everything that a store employee would do.
That's wild. So when you were kind of telling me a little bit about like the concept of this story, I had in mind, I think I don't know, they might be in more major league ballparks, but at the Arizona Diamondbacks ballpark, there's like this Amazon store thing where if you want to go buy beer or whatever, you sign into your Amazon account, you scan your palm, and it like takes a picture of your palm print, I guess. And then anytime you just like go and you buy stuff, and then you wave your hand over the little scanner, and it automatically charges your Amazon account. So now that I know that there's actually some poor man or woman on the other side of this, probably some 11-year-old that they're taking advantage of for 40 cents an hour, I'm still probably going to use it.
Yeah, and it somehow makes it that much worse. I mean, we all know that AI is going to replace all of our jobs eventually. It somehow makes it worse that it wasn't even an AI running the show like they promised it was, that they really just outsourced grocery store jobs and pretended that it was AI. Like, that's just so insulting. I mean,
Jesus.
I know those people in India got to eat too, but come on, like, talk about some greedy scumbag corporate shit. Like, that's just awful.
Because the worst part is those eggs probably cost $9 a dozen. Like, it's just insane. It's ridiculous.
Thanks, Joe Obama.
Thanks a lot. Man, well, I got a lighter-hearted story for you here. Have you ever had anything stolen off of your porch? Well, actually, let me take that back. You've had the opposite of stuff stolen from your porch.
I've had literally the opposite of stuff stolen from my porch. Amazon one time sent me a whole porch, like they filled my entire porch with shit that I didn't order that was supposed to go to some up-and-coming yoga studio. They sent me like 40 fucking yoga mats, the desk and chair that I'm using right now. I mean, of course I didn't fucking send it back. Like, they didn't even want it back. It just reported that I got all this shit I didn't order, and they're like, "Oh, well, keep it, I guess."
Free
but
stuff.
Yeah, I had the opposite of a porch pirate.
Not
situation.
not even just once though either. You've had weird Christmas a couple of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, and it like all the things for Weird Christmas 2.0 was from the same opening yoga studio. It was all for the same thing, but like I literally probably had about 100 packages that I didn't order at all show up on my porch one time. A whole yoga studio's worth of business shit, like
That's
like
wonderful.
note cards and post-it stamps and pens and binder clips, like just anything you might think you need to open a business. I got it with a bunch of
Well,
yoga shit too.
now imagine if one of those surprises that showed up on your porch was a random trash bag, and think about if how weird it would be if that trash bag started stealing stuff from your porch. In Sacramento, California, homeowner Omar Gabriel Munoz had a truly unexpected visitor on his doorstep. All right, so picture this: a person disguised as a trash bag, waddling up to the porch like a cartoon character. And no, you're not dreaming. It's real life. It's a porch pirate in disguise. And what was this sneaky thief after, you ask? Just a package
Amazon
containing,
packages.
yeah, just an Amazon package containing two cell phone chargers valued at roughly $12. But the real treasure here has to have been the security footage. Like, could you imagine checking your Ring doorbell, seeing somebody waddle up in a trash bag to steal your packages?
That is so outrageous. I mean, I guess I guess that's how you would have to do it these days since everybody has a Ring doorbell. But that is so wild. So, did it capture his face at all, or was he in the bag the whole time?
From the sounds of it, the person has remained anonymous, and Omar hasn't decided to pursue any sort of legal efforts or press charges. He's honestly come on record as saying, "You know what, that was a good one," and has been pretty amused by the antics itself, and just said, "You know what, well played, my friend. Well played. You can have those $10 chargers." I just thought it was hilarious. Like, you can just walk up and take it.
God, what a trash fucking person. That's that's so outrageous. That's fucking hilarious.
I'll see if I can get a link to the video down below, or maybe we'll throw it in. But yeah, it was pretty funny. I personally wouldn't be mad if someone stole my stuff doing that either.
I probably would still be pretty mad, and that's such a shitty thing to do. But I would at least monetize the video that I captured with my doorbell and put it on YouTube or something, because that's content at least.
true,
But wow.
true that. True that. That's actually going to be our newest Friends Are Weird segment called Theft is Weird, where we just go around in various disguises, mostly as trash bags stealing things.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll go over well with the local authorities. Like, it's
Yeah,
funny, just like that
yeah,
story on our podcast. Remember? Come on, you know our podcast officer.
yeah, officer.
Oh man. Well, that's a pretty wild one. So you went with the more positive story. I'm gonna take it back to pretty terrible with my next one. Uh, there was an unfortunate event last week, a freak event that claimed the lives of 7 construction workers. And tomorrow, an even more devastating event is going to occur that's going to claim the lives of probably everyone else. I don't know. Uh, so by now, everyone's seen the footage of the Francis Scott Key Bridge getting demolished in a matter of seconds by an out of control cargo ship that lost power like 10 minutes before it happened. And what most sane people didn't see was the Jewish strings being pulled behind the scenes to make it happen, according to certain red pill people who know way more than you or I do. So, according to a friend of the show, Andrew Tate, and many, many others who are as smart as he is and in the know, this was basically Cyber 9/11 at sea, perpetrated by an evil cabal of black, Jewish, trans, radical, communist Hillary's email, diversity, equity, and inclusion woke green M&Ms who want you to support Ukraine or some shit. Now, if that sounds scary to you, the same people who made that happen are planning to block out the sun tomorrow as well, signaling the end of capitalism in the Western world as we know it. So, what do you got to say to that, Joey?
I don't even know. I don't even know where to start with any of it. I've heard conspiracy theories about the solar eclipse, but they're all fun, cute conspiracy theories like, oh, it's aliens and they have to like do repairs on the dome that surrounds the earth that we can't see, and they've got to block out the light in order to do it, but it's okay, it's to protect you. But where is friend of the show Andrew Tate? How is he drawing this connection between the ship crashing and the solar eclipse?
Well, you see, he decided to take the red pill that lets him know everything for real instead of the blue pill that made him stupid and go back to his boring desk job that he totally had before.
And so these he just knows that they're connected.
Oh yeah. It's all connected. It's all follow the rabbit hole, and then he'd be as smart as a QAnoner. These conspiracies are all over the place. I don't even know what the end goal is, but as a white Christian American, I know that I'm supposed to be really scared, and I am, dude. This is the most terrifying thing I don't understand since I've heard about black holes for the first time. So there's no way that a diesel engine could ever lose power like that ship did. And despite the fact that they've since released a radio call to the authorities when it happened saying, hey, we're a ship, we lost our power, get everyone the fuck off the bridge, we're going to crash into it. And the police car lights that you could see in the video of that thing going down, it's most likely because the democratically elected mayor of Baltimore is a diversity hire. Could you now put yourself in the shoes of these conspiracy theorists for half a sec? Like, if something like this happened in Albuquerque, I mean, given a ship like that couldn't float on the Rio Grande, but it's basically like if the Bank of Albuquerque skyscraper downtown had crashed into Paseo del Norte and just completely demolished the whole fucking thing. And I don't know, right-wing people from here to Rio Rancho claiming that it's because the comptroller of Albuquerque is Hispanic. That's basically what they're getting at by pointing out that, like I said, the democratically elected mayor of Baltimore, a place that's 60% black, happens to be a black guy. Because a white guy in charge would never let such a thing happen.
Never. I love that, like, solar eclipses happen like every 18 months around, like, they're visible periodically throughout the world, but it's only ever in America that there's some sort of underlying conspiracy theory that takes place.
Oh yeah, and one of the conspiracies regarding the solar eclipse comes from Marjorie Taylor Greene herself, about how funny it is that the path of the total solar eclipse just happens to run through Uvalde, Texas, and about 47 other towns and cities that have experienced a mass shooting. Now, my theory is that the moon just happens to be passing between the sun and the earth, and the shadow happens to be running across the United States, a continent-sized country where mass shootings happen twice per day. Like, literally, I think if you were to wear a map of the United States like a poncho and go to a Walmart within the United States and pull it off in the parking lot when you left, you're most likely to have bullet holes that correlate to cities and towns more accurately covering the path of everywhere there's been a mass shooting by the time you walk out. I mean, that's just me. It's just America. I don't know how she's tying it into mass shootings, but it's definitely because of that. But she also did predict correctly that earthquakes and shit are coming too, because, you know, this is just a sign from God. And there just happened to be a fucking earthquake in New York where they never get earthquakes the other day. So she did correctly point that out, and she might actually be onto something. Hey, so sorry about that. I looked up and saw you were getting up to go take care of Max. I wasn't sure at what point you actually got up to go do that.
You know, Stone, Marjorie Taylor
Hey,
Greene
Max.
irks me in a lot of ways. Say hi, Max. This is a family show. If you haven't gotten that already, if you haven't gotten the vibes from the show, this is a family show. This is my baby. Sometimes you just got to make things happen, you know? But yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, fuck Marjorie Taylor Greene. And you know who is worse than Marjorie Taylor Greene? Infinitely worse than Marjorie Taylor Greene?
I don't know. Osama bin Laden?
You know who's even worse than Osama bin Laden?
Joey Caliendo.
You know who's even worse than Joey Caliendo? Donald J. Trump. Have you heard about
Okay.
what this guy said? Now, this guy said a lot of crazy things, and I mostly
Like,
dismiss. I mostly, I mostly just dismiss a lot of the nutball things that he says to the brain damage from syphilis. But in a wild social media rant, former President Trump compared himself to the one, the only Nelson fucking Mandela, claiming it would be, in all capital letters, a great honor to go to jail for speaking the quote unquote open and obvious, all capital letters, truth in his upcoming hush money trial. Trump took aim at Judge Juan Merkin, accusing him of political bias and vowing to sacrifice his freedom to save the country from supposed political operatives. There are a lot of people that I can compare Donald J. Trump to. Nelson Mandela is absolutely not one of them whatsoever. He's basically saying he's being prosecuted, and I just don't get it.
yeah, see, the main difference is Nelson Mandela actually went to jail, and we all know that Donald Trump is never going to have to. So, I mean, in a sense, he's kind of like Nelson Mandela in that people want him in prison. And he was a president of a country at one point. Beyond that, though, there's not a whole lot that they have in common. But nice try, Don. Like that was almost an apt comparison.
I don't know. I think Donald will end up in jail. I'm calling it now. By 2028, that man is in jail. You heard it here first on Friends Are Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, well, shit. That's I for the first time since we've started this show, I'm like almost at a loss for words. Like Nelson Mandela, huh? Wow.
Nelson J. Mandela. Well, thank you for reminding us why we are collectively all living in the worst timeline. There's no way this isn't a simulation, and if it is a simulation, it's the worst simulation I've ever seen, and I'm
It's the
ready for
darkest
something
timeline.
different. It
Yeah.
is the darkest timeline. Well, that concludes this week's episode of Friends Are Weird. I'm Joey. This is Max.
And I'm Stone.
And we love you, weird friends. We'll see you later.
Love ya. Thanks for joining us. Please
Love you.
like, subscribe, and watch our other videos. We have them here, and we have them here. Check them out.